Dolphins breaking news on a Thursday afternoon, and we talked about it earlier today on our Jaelen Phillips replacement video that Miami was ultimately going to sign a veteran to their active roster to replace Phillips as he eventually goes on IR, and they found their man, edge rusher, linebacker, whatever you want to call him, Tyus Bowser, former Baltimore Raven, and then he was currently on the Seattle Seahawks practice squad. So when you sign someone off the practice squad, they immediately go to your 53-man roster. So Bowser is the newest Miami Dolphin. And this is why you subscribe to the channel, because when we get breaking news, we make a video, we have you covered. Make sure you're subscribed. Completely free coverage here. We drop multiple videos on a daily basis, as well as go live for every game, and we talk about everything surrounding the Fins, so hit that sub button. As we mentioned earlier today, and that's another reason why you should be subscribed, by the way, is because we dropped a video this morning around 11:30 noon that Miami was going to sign an edge rusher to replace Jaelen Phillips. And we actually went through 4 players that they could, and I did not put Tyus Bowser on my list, and well, I should have made it a 5-player list because you might think I'm bullshitting you at home, but he was the odd man out. He would have been the 5th name I put because there is some sort of familiarity between Bowser and Anthony Weaver, who is the Dolphins' defensive coordinator. They overlapped with time in Baltimore, and it made a lot of sense to me that he knows the scheme, he knows the type of system, he knows the type of defense that Weaver wants to run, and could probably come in and hit the ground running relatively soon after signing with the Miami Dolphins. And after Phillips is now on IR and you bring Bowser onto this active roster, the Dolphins' edge group looks like this. And we looked at it this morning as well. Emmanuel Ogbah is your top edge rusher, which if you told a Dolphins fan that back in June and July, they would have probably called you crazy. I would have been with you there because, one, he wasn't on the team, and that was prior to Shaq Barrett retiring. Ogbah signed right before training camp opened up in August, and, well, now he is your edge rusher 1. You also have Chop Robinson, who was drafted in the first round of the 2024 NFL Draft. Quinton Bell, who is a shocking person who made this team. The 5th-round rookie out of Colorado State, Mohamed Kamara, and now Tyus Bowser. So you were never going into this week, or I guess into the rest of the season, with only 4 healthy active edge rushers. You were always going to add a 5th one. Now, they have had an inactive edge rusher every week and only had 4 on game days. I would expect it to be Tyus Bowser this week. Obviously, I don't think he'd be ready for this game, but he is likely going to be someone that is active going forward because of his experience. And we talk about his last 4 full seasons, and no, those numbers on the left aren't deceiving. It really is the 2022 season because he's just been on a practice squad this year so far, has not really played at all this season, and then he missed all of 2023 with a knee injury. And it was disappointing because you saw the numbers on screen. He was pretty effective for Baltimore between 2019 and 2022. We had a set year in 2021 where he had 7 sacks. Like, he has been someone who has been a productive piece of a defense in the past. And I'm not going to come here and expect him to be some awesome player for Miami right away and have a sack every game and being a disruptive player. But as we said on today's video earlier, they need to have an insurance policy if the young Bucks and Chop Robinson and Mo Kamara aren't able to handle a full workload, because Chop was drafted in the 1st round, expected to be eased in behind Emmanuel Ogbah, behind Bradley Chubb, behind Jaelen Phillips. But since Bradley Chubb is not returned off the PUP list, and he probably isn't going to return for at least another 2 or 3 weeks, Jaelen Phillips out for the year, Ogbah is now your number 1, and Chop gets bumped up to your number 2 guy and opposite to Emmanuel Ogbah. So you needed to get someone who has experience, can stop the run a little bit, because we know Chop Robinson isn't very good at that, and Tyus Bowser is their guy. We're going to continue the conversation on Tyus Bowser in just 1 second, but let me know, what is your one word on the Dolphins going out and signing Tyus Bowser? Just one word. I'm limiting you to 1. Today's pinned comment. Go answer it down below. My one word, needed. And I'm going to continue to hammer home this point right here, is like, when you really try to go forward, and I know it's not a flashy name, it's someone that was on a practice squad. I thought maybe Melvin Ingram could have been someone for Miami, but they evidently went with a guy they were familiar with, or at least Anthony Weaver was familiar with, in Tyus Bowser. And Like I mentioned, you just needed to add someone. Like when you think of what you have gotten from the three top healthy edges so far this season, it hasn't been that good. Like Ogbah's been okay, but Chop Robinson hasn't done much this year. Quinton Bell hasn't done much this year, and both have their deficiencies in their game. Like Chop is just still a young pup. He's not ready to take on a full workload as a starting edge rusher, and he is so bad against the run at this point in his career. Well, teams are just going to simply run at him almost every single play, and it would really limit the Miami Dolphins defense. And Quinton Bell wasn't even expected to be on the team this season coming into training camp, but performed so well, he earned a roster spot, and he's been the fourth active edge rusher every single week with Mohamed Kamara on the inactive list every single week. And as we look back to Tyus Bowser's last season as a member of the Baltimore Ravens, yeah, he only played in 9 games, but his PFF grades go as followed. He was a 56.4 overall, 59.3 pass rush, and 53.9 rush defense. So it wasn't great, but the numbers in 2021 were much better. He was graded out in the 70s and high 60s in 2021 when he had probably his best season of his NFL career. Like I mentioned, though, he probably will not be ready this week, which means he will probably get pulled into the fold completely coming out of the bye in Week 7. Remember, folks, you got this game against New England on Sunday, then you have a Week 6 bye, and then you travel to Indianapolis after that in Week 7 before Tua is eligible to return in Week 8 against the Arizona Cardinals at home. So you do have a little bit of room here to have him eased in to this group. And I think that Week 7, Week 8 kind of date is when we should probably look for Bradley Chubb to potentially be returning for the Miami Dolphins. It's unclear. Remember, he suffered a torn ACL at the end of the season last year in Week 16, Week 17, and I think a early November, late November, mid-November, anywhere in November is probably where you can expect Bradley Chubb to return. So these 5 are going to be the guys that have to hold it down for you right now. And it's tough. The schemes for Anthony Weaver are going to have to probably be dialed up quite a bit, and maybe you move Calais Campbell, who has played on the interior of your defensive line alongside Zach Sealer for most of the season. Maybe he gets pushed out. Is he still that spry athlete he was in his 20s? Probably not. He is 38 years old, but he does have a lot of experience there when he was in Arizona, Jacksonville, Baltimore a long time ago. So he can play on the edge of this defensive line if need be. But Tyus Bowser is the name that we're going to see added to this roster for Miami right now. Listen, like I'm going to say it again, I don't expect it to be anything crazy, but they were always going to be signing someone to this roster. They just simply needed a body. They needed a veteran presence just in case Chop Robinson, Mo Kamara, 2 rookies, weren't able to be as effective as you'd like them to be because, listen, Kamara hasn't made his NFL debut yet, and Chop, we have detailed his struggles against the run. And it would just not be fair to this Dolphins defense that is already shorthanded in other areas as well. Bowser, don't think he plays this week, but will likely be ready to roll after the bye in Week 7. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode. Make sure you are subscribed because when news happens, we break it down. And we already knew they were going to sign someone in our video earlier today. That's why you subscribe. That's why you have your notifications turned on so you never miss a beat of Miami Dolphins news.